Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Each week, we are serving up motivation and inspiration to help you get weeknight dinner on the table, letting you recapture a little calm in the crazy. And now, your host, speaker, author, and married mother of four, Mariefiebach.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 119. I'm your host, Mariefiebach, and today we're going to talk about avoiding multiple weekly grocery trips. This is the first in a two-part series that I'm doing on grocery shopping. Today, we're going to talk about how you can keep from going to the grocery store several times a week. And next week, I'm going to talk about using grocery sales and how to shop with grocery sales. If you are a super organized person and you already have your weekly grocery shopping trip down to one trip a week and you don't have to go back for items later in the week, you can probably skip this episode because you're not going to need any of these tips. But for those of us that are like me and we go to the grocery store several times a week, I have two big tips to help you avoid multiple grocery store trips. First thing is, I do it. I am totally guilty of going to the grocery store many times a week. And there's several reasons why. One of them is that I live within 5 minutes of 9 grocery stores, and it's just a little bit too easy for me to go to a grocery store and grab an item here or there. I have a teenage son that I can send to the store for me as well. The other thing is that I am not only managing my household's food, but I'm also managing a food blog. And sometimes in reality, I am shopping several times a week. But my goal, my personal goal, is to go to the grocery store 2 times a week. On a really good week, I do a large grocery shopping trip at the beginning of the week. And then usually on Thursday or Friday, I'll go back for a smaller grocery shopping trip where I'm just picking up a few things of fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and oftentimes some fish. We eat a lot of salad, and that means a lot of lettuce, a lot of carrots, and a lot of celery. When you're eating 10 pounds of carrots a week, it's really hard to keep that much produce in one refrigerator, which is what my family has. 2 trips a week is kind of my personal goal. Now, that said, if you can do it in one, more power to you. And I'm going to give you these 2 tips that are going to help you cut back on the number of grocery shopping trips that you make every week. The first tip is to have a well-stocked pantry. I talked about it in episode 108, how I like to do a deep dive grocery shopping trip about once a quarter. And this trip takes me about half of a day. I mean, it's 8 in the morning until noon, and I'm going to multiple stores. I'm stocking up on all of my family's basic items, from toilet paper, paper towels, dry goods, things like beans and tomatoes and pasta, things that I keep in my freezer like frozen fruit and frozen veggies. Also, hygiene items like toilet paper and shampoo and toothpaste and deodorant. And I do all of that about once a quarter. If your budget allows for that, highly recommend it, because while it takes about 4 hours on a morning, you don't have to think about most of those dry goods for the next 3 months. I was talking with a friend of mine, and she said, I can't afford to do it once a quarter. But what she started doing was she started once a month doing a grocery shopping trip for non-food items. So she would go and she would buy her diapers and her toilet paper and toothpaste and deodorant and shampoo. And that was a separate budget item. And then her food budget was just her weekly food shopping items. So you have to look at your budget. You've got to be careful about that. The other thing is you need to have a system for rotating food, because you don't want to keep putting fresh things at the front of your pantry and you end up with a 5-year-old can of tomatoes that goes to waste at the back of your pantry because you keep stocking up on your staple items. But having a well-stocked pantry does a couple of things for you. The first thing is you have all the basics, so you don't need to keep running to the store because you've got your pantry well-stocked, and you have them well-stocked with the types of foods that your family eats most frequently. You need to look at the flavors that your family likes. You need to look at the ingredients that you're using over and over again. In some families, that's going to be pasta and canned tomatoes. And in other families, it's probably going to be rice and canned coconut milk. You have to look at the type of flavors that your family likes to eat and buy these basics according to your family's likes. The other thing that's really important when you have a well-stocked pantry is to have a system for keeping track of items that are going low. There is nothing more frustrating than to always have tomatoes in your pantry and you go to make dinner and you were going to have chili for dinner and there aren't any tomatoes left. What happened to the last can of tomatoes? Did anybody tell me that they used the last can of tomatoes? Again, my kids are older. If your kids are younger, this is completely on you. But if your kids are older, you need to get them in on this. And you need to have a system where when they open the last of an item, or sometimes the next to last of an item, that it automatically gets written on a list. In our house, we get together every Sunday night, my husband and I, and we look at my paper calendar because I'm old school and I have to write it on a piece of paper. And we sync my work digital calendar, the family digital calendar, the paper calendar, and we put it all into our computer system. And then we print out a combined weekly calendar every Sunday night. And that printout goes on our refrigerator. And there's a space on there for notes. And if my kids open the next to last of an item, they know to write it on the calendar. You can do this in apps on your phone. You can do this old school with just a straight up piece of paper on your refrigerator. It doesn't really matter. The key is that you need to have a system for keeping track of items that are going low, because when you go to make dinner and an item that you usually have in your pantry isn't there, it's a surefire way to make an extra trip to the grocery store that you're trying to avoid. Having a well-stocked pantry is a great way to avoid extra trips to the grocery store. The other thing about having a well-stocked pantry is it helps you make substitutions. So if you were going to make a baked ziti and you realize I don't have any ziti in my pantry, you could use macaroni, or you could use penne, or you could use lasagna noodles. There are ways to make substitutions when your pantry is well stocked with a lot of different items, and that will help you avoid extra trips to the grocery store. The second thing that's going to help you avoid extra trips to the grocery store, you're going to roll your eyes, but I'm going to say you've got a meal plan. I mean, that's what Feed Your Family Tonight is about. Meal planning is a key part to making weeknight dinner a success in your home. And when you're trying to avoid trips to the grocery store, you've got to plan your meals so that you are buying the ingredients that you are going to need to be successful all week long. If you do not have my free weekly meal planning sheet, just pause right now, go to feedyourfamilytonight.com/plan and get the free printable download. It has a space for you to make your meal plan. And on the back of the sheet, it has a place to put your grocery list. How convenient is that? When you make your meal plans, then you flip it over to the back and you start writing the groceries that you need to buy to execute that plan. And I encourage you, once you have made your meal plan and written your grocery list, to get out your phone and take a picture of both sides of that meal planning sheet. Because how many times have you gotten to the store and you have left your list at home? Or you get to the store, and this totally happened to me last week. I had a list of things that I needed to buy. I had it on a little index card in my pocket. I lost the index card. I do not know how from my house to the store, just in my car, I lost this index card, but I did. If I had taken a picture and put it on my phone, then I wouldn't have had the panic. Turns out it fell out when I opened the door. It had fallen on the side and I found it on the ground after I had torn apart everything. Take a picture of your meal plan. Take a picture of your grocery list, because you're going to have your phone with you when you go to the grocery store. And if you lose that piece of paper, you can just open it up. The other thing is, if you have that system for keeping track of items that are going low, you can take a picture of that. I take a picture of my calendar and it has all of the lists of things that my children have gotten to the end of. And then I know what I have to buy and I'm not forgetting items. Now, one objection that I often get for this idea of meal planning is you just like to go to the store and you like to see what's on the markdown section and you like to get inspired at the grocery store rather than plan before you go to the grocery store. I get that. I like to look at markdowns too. And sometimes I'll get to the store and I'll see that something is on a really, really good sale and I'll change my meal plan when I'm at the store. This happened just a couple of weeks ago. I was at the store and they had fresh chicken wings on sale for $1 a pound. Well, that is an incredible buy on fresh chicken wings. And my daughter was with me. She goes, "Mom, can we have chicken wings?" And I looked at my meal plan. I knew what my schedule was like. Chicken wings is something that takes 45 minutes in the oven, and I usually like to marinate them, so it's kind of an ordeal. It's not a quick and easy meal in my house. And I looked at my meal plan, and I realized that the next day, I did have some wiggle room. I had a little bit of time that I could pull off cooking chicken wings for dinner. And so I went ahead and switched my meal plan, and I bought those chicken wings. If you go to the grocery store and you get inspired, your meal plan can change, but you do not want to rely just on being inspired when you walk into the grocery store, because this is what's going to happen. You're going to walk into the grocery store and you're going to want to get inspired and you're going to leave with a pound of hamburger and a pound of boneless, skinless chicken breast, and you're going to go home and you're going to make the same meals that you make over and over again, and you're going to forget one of the ingredients and you're going to have to go back to the store because you didn't have Parmesan cheese and you decided that chicken Parmesan sounded good today and you thought you had Parmesan cheese at home, but when you got there, the little green can was empty. Has this happened to you? It's happened to me more times than I can count. So it's okay to go to the grocery store and get inspired. You can adapt once you're there, but you need to go to the store with a plan. A couple of years ago, I received an order that came in through my email. Someone had ordered a meal planning notebook. And when I sent the shipping confirmation to this person who had bought this meal planning notebook, she lived in Topeka, Kansas. And I've spoken all over the state of Kansas, but Topeka was a place that I hadn't actually spoken. And I asked her how she found out about Feed Your Family Tonight, because this was early in my business and not a lot of people outside of my ring of friends knew what Feed Your Family Tonight even was. And I said, "How did you hear about Feed Your Family Tonight?" And she said, "My sister-in-law bought me a cookbook and meal planning notebook for Christmas. And I have a friend who is in a crisis situation right now. And I told her, why don't you start using ClickList, which is a grocery pickup service?" And the friend said, "I would love to use a grocery pickup service, but I am not organized enough to plan out my meals. And I end up going to the grocery store several times a week. And paying for a grocery pickup service makes no sense right now in my life because I can't plan my meals ahead." So this very kind friend bought one of my meal planning notebooks, and she went to this friend's house and helped her plan out her first week of meals, got her set up with a digital account so that she could order her groceries online, and all she had to do was pick them up. She gave this friend in crisis something that money can't buy, and that is time. We have a finite number of hours every day, and when we are wasting our time because we're not organized enough and we end up going to the grocery store, even if it's like me and it's 5 minutes away, you are stopping what you're doing. You are getting in your car. You are driving to the store. You are getting in and out of the store. It is more than 5 minutes. It is more than 10 minutes. If you can get yourself organized and reduce the number of grocery trips that you're making every week, you are going to give yourself back so much time. Not to mention the fact that you have the freedom of being organized and it's going to be easier to get dinner on the table. I'm going to start a thread in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group, and I want you to tell me how many trips you make to the grocery store in a given week. There is no shame if you are going 4 or 5 times a week, because trust me, I have been there and sometimes still am. But my goal is 2 times a week. And sometimes I hit that goal. Sometimes I fall a little short. But each day we're trying to get just a little bit better, just a little bit more organized. And if you can follow these tips of having a well-stocked pantry and planning before you go to the grocery store, making sure you keep a list of items that are going low so you don't have to make last-minute trips for things that you should have in your pantry, you are going to have the gift of time. Next week, we're going to talk about using grocery sales to help your grocery budget. So for now, friends, take care.
Thanks for listening to Feed Your Family Tonight podcast with your host, Mariefiebach. If you like the show and want to know more, please visit feedyourfamilytonight.com. And if you'd like to help support the show, please leave a rating or review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. It helps spread the word that you can feed your family tonight.